Bless of the heavens. Kind rise, song by Deva. Thank you. I would now like to invite Dr. K.V. Thomas Kuti, Director and Secretary of Malagasy Catholic Colleges for the message.
Major Honorable the principal of Marginalized College, Professor Father Dr. Abraham, the principal Dr. Thomas, principal St. John's College, Sri Major Association, former principal of Marginalized College, principal of respected academicians, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to each and to the inauguration of National Seminar on Education, Environment and Economy. And this seminar is focusing on the marginalized people. It is truly an honor and a privilege to have all of you here today as embark on this journey of exploration, enlightenment and empowerment. It is with great pleasure and a sense of profound responsibility that I stand before you at the opening ceremony of the National Seminar, a two-day mega event dedicated to exploring innovative pathways for holistic development of society with the particular focus on the marginalized community. Our inspiration for this seminar stems from the visionary thoughts of the a socio-economic visionary, environmentalist and academic whose idea of our approach to sustainable development. Bessarian principles, coupled with contemporary advancements in education, economy, and environment, form the bedrock of our discussions over the next 2 days. This national seminar the national seminar was preceded by 2 pre-conference conclaves, one a media conclave and an NGO conclave, which held yesterday at Marginalized College of Law in a vivid manner. And distinguished senior media professionals, social activists, and scholars from non-government organizations engaged in meaningful exchange with academic and university students. Against this backdrop, we now embark on a two-day national seminar. Over the next 2 days, we will delve deep into these issues, engage in thought-provoking discussions, sharing innovative ideas, and formulating strategies that can pave the way for a more inclusive and sustainable future. Our goal is not just to discuss, but to inspire action, to catalyze change, and to empower individuals and communities to take charge of their destinies. Today, we are honored to have truly a remarkable individual presiding over the opening ceremony of this prestigious event, the National Seminar on Economy, Education and Environment. His Beatitude Basilius Cardinal Clemens Catholicos is the chief guest of the day, and now his Beatitude is chairing this session. His reputation precedes him, as he is renowned as a towering catalyst agent and a generous philanthropist. A true humanist, he is celebrated for his contributions as a peacemaker in the socio-political and cultural realms. Ever since the assumption of his office as a father and head of the Malankara Catholic Church in 2008, his Beatitude Cardinal Basilius Clemens has taken a responsible role himself to ease the burden of the life that haunt the people of God. The Snekapurvam ഒരു വീട്, സ്വാന്തനം, സ്നേഹവീട്, ആശ്വാസഭവൻ, സായുജ്യം, അമ്മ വീട്, and this is not the end. It is a long list of ongoing projects giving solace to hundreds of vulnerable sections of our society. The organizing committee is very much obliged to his Beatitude for the unconditional support and encouragement rendered for the successful accomplishment of this national seminar. I, on behalf of all the members of the organizing committee, institution heads, on my own behalf, and all the participants of this conference, offer a warm welcome to his Beatitude Basilius Cardinal Clemens to this blissful ceremony. Our Honorable Chief Secretary has consented to be present in this session. Due to his physical inconveniences, he will be appearing online. And one of the focal points of our deliberations in the empowerment of Dalit, tribals and marginalized population in the northern Kerala, Kozhikode, Wayanad, Pulpalli and Bethel region. And here, we will be hearing and seeing the Chief Secretary of the State online, and he's a man with a pleasant smile, and we have Honorable Chief Secretary of the State, Dr. V. Venu. He spent his childhood at Kozhikode. He started his career as a doctor and started a clinic, Mercy, denoting his attitude to humanity. I'm sure he is already in the seminar and he is listening us. And so, but he has, even though he started his career as a doctor, practicing doctor, he has wider plans. He took IPS and then he assumed the office of the IAS. He is passionate traveler, drama artist and a writer. His accomplishments include playing a crucial role in placing Kerala as a competitor in global tourism market. He has actively participated in around 50 plays influenced by his cousin Kavalam Narayana Panikar. The International Theatre Festival of Kerala is the result of his efforts. Taking his own slogan, "Kind to Indian tourism," which has become a tagline, "Incredible India," I wholeheartedly welcome our incredible Chief Secretary of the State, Dr. V. Venu, to this meeting. We are also expecting Dr. Shashi Tharoor in this session, and he has promised that he will be attending this meeting not later than 10 o'clock. And so very shortly he will be coming. And he is a former international civil servant, diplomat, bureaucrat, politician, writer, and public intellect. And I, on behalf of all the participants in this meeting, wholeheartedly welcome Dr. Shashi Tharoor. I also take this occasion to welcome the principal of Basilisk Engineering College, Dr. Abraham T. Matthew. And he was at the NIT Kozhikode. He was a registrar there. He was a faculty dean there. And with all the glorious services, he joined this Basilisk College in 2020. And he is instrumental in bringing up the institution to the stature of one of the most prominent institutions in the state. And also in our midst, Father Vinci Varghese Vali Changavidal is here. Who said, this is not a privilege but a fundamental right. Environment is not a resource to exploit, but a heritage to preserve. And the economy is not an end in itself, but a means to endorse a dignified life for all. Once again, a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for being part of this important journey. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We are indeed blessed to have in our midst His Beatitude Moranmar Basilius Cardinal Clemens Catholicos, Major Archbishop Catholicos and Head of Syro Malagra Catholic Church. I humbly invite His Beatitude for the presidential address.
Good morning to you all. Our most respected Dr. Shashi Tharoor, all the dignitaries on the dais, the present heads of institutions and the former heads, and also the organizers, respected fathers, respected teachers, and my dear participants. First of all, I thank Dr. K.V. Thomas Kuti, the chief organizer, on behalf of the Malagra Catholic Association, and also in his capacity as the secretary of the Malagra Syrian Catholic Colleges, in organizing such a move in the field of education, conscientization, and also as a matter of empowerment, that we could come back to the fore, that is the human person itself. In our discussions, deliberations, and decisions, we have taken the theme and we have focused on this environment, the economy, giving a special emphasis on where we have to focus our thoughts, that is the marginalized. The organizers must be keeping in mind that the people at the periphery, as the concerned people in the marginalized sector, those who are deprived of being present in the most attentive manner. Without diluting that, let me come to a complementing dimension of the same topic. Who is marginalized, if not the human being? We are discussing about economy, environment, development, and the scientific growth. But what is being forgotten is the human being itself. We are trying to say that the marginalized people have no benefit at all. And at the same time, we are trying to focus those people who should be preferred to be with us in our discussion, in our attention, and in our deliberations as the beneficiary as well. This is the time of election. You could see it from the face of Dr. Shashi Tharoor. I had a very pleasant experience with a former MP, not Shashi Tharoor. He is still the MP, he is not former. He was telling me during the campaign, sometimes we lose the memory, we lose where we are and so on. That is natural. The hectic schedule of a candidate could be seen very clear. And this man said, wherever I go, I immediately come out of the car and greet people, please vote for me, and so on. So towards the end of that small meeting, he was about to get into the car, and one man was standing there, helping him to get into the car, holding the door. And he said, thank you, and please vote for me. Then the man who was standing there, he said, sir, I am your driver. So he said, it is possible that we forget. We have national, international discussions on development, but forgetting the focus of our discussion, that is a human being. As representatives of various cross-sections of the society, we are invited and we are forced, we are inspired to talk on development, which should not be stopped at all. But what are we talking about? Whom are we keeping in mind that they should be given attention? These days we discuss much about the attack from the wild animals, those who are residing close to the forest area. Unfortunately, the discussion is on about the elephant, not about the person who is brutally killed. There may be a casual mentioning that so and so is killed by, that is no more a news. Padayappan with the full colored picture, that is the focus. Are we not losing the sense of priority? Whom are we protecting? Whom are we promoting? We spend crores and crores of, in terms of economy in India, rupees, for purchasing new warplanes and arms and ammunition produced somewhere else, which is their livelihood, not ours. We spend millions for that, forgetting the basic need of those who are marginalized. When we speak about the promotion of these most needy persons in our country, we may say few crores. These many crores are allotted for the promotion of education, the rural development. In comparison to that, just look at the number. How many millions are spent? The so-called protective measures to save our boundary. Sometimes the attacks in the boundary are all man-made stories, not even real. Our real focus should be the human being. Here I bow my head before this visionary, the late Cyril Basilios Catholicos, who has found life in abundance amongst the tribals and the farmers and the so-called unforgotten sectors of the society, especially when he lived in Wayanad. As a student, I was with him for many years, and I have seen him moving joyfully with the tribal people. And that time he had initiated 120 centers for tribal development. Even one of the beneficiaries got a special, award from the late Prime Minister Srimati Indira Gandhi for the achievement that he has made. I still remember his name. Markandan was the person who got that award from the high team of our nation. And it was all his initiatives that shaped a popular society called Shreyas, a well-known non-governmental organization in South India at that time. And Father George Vettikattil is the former director of that Shreyas, including everyone. He said, in all the churches, we need a unit of this Shreyas with the people of all religions. And I have seen in my life for the first time that even the cathedral was opened to have such a meeting. First time in my life I have seen the Hindus and Muslims and Christians sitting together in a church, inside the church, not in the veranda. Inside the church where the Mass is being celebrated, discussing about the possibility of development in that rural area. He said, by adding those people to the church and counting those numbers, he said, these all belong to us. These are the people of God. You may not see them in the register of the parish. Until today, none of these people are added to the register of the parish. That means they are not, there was no attempt to convert them physically, but there was a conversion, of mental conversion, to grow further as a human society. Well, I presume the Chief Secretary, Dr. Venu, is also listening my scattered thoughts. I thank him for his precious time in spending with us, his thoughts and his visions for the society. I think we need a concerted effort to focus our reflections on human being, not simply as a beneficiary, but as the prime matter and the prime reason of our existence. It's our duty to safeguard the interest of the marginalized. Among the machines, human beings are forgotten. Among the man-made instruments, human intellect and human beings are sidelined. Intelligence has two variables now, the real intelligence and the artificial intelligence. But the human intelligence is the best. I hope Dr. Shashi Tharoor will compliment on that. The human intelligence, he is the power, he is the brain, and he is everything in that matter, the master over any artificially created intelligence and intelligent works. The marginalized, you may call them the poor, but I may say marginalized present today is the human being. We should come back to that focusing point of bringing human being in the midst as the prime concern of our reflections. Among the human beings, those who are at the periphery should be given priority to come back to the main fore. That is a collective responsibility given to us. And that's what we are presently engaged in, the education and also in our deliberations as well. You are now in a campus where human beings are considered on their merit, not on the basis of caste or religion or party politics. It's based on the human intellect and the merit and the possibility to be merited through the hard work. They are being placed here. And I'm very happy that such a campus is organizing a reflective session that is a challenge given to us, a vocation given to us, and a mission to be fulfilled by us. And I congratulate Dr. Thomas Kutty, who represents the church, in organizing such a beautiful reflective session within the campus. And I thank our host, Mar Basilius College of Engineering and Technology, with the autonomous grade and status. The principal, Dr. Abraham T. Thomas. If you think Abraham T. Thomas is a long name, forget about it. Call him ATM. And that is what he is, a very motivating person. Anytime, all the time, an inspiring person for the college and the campus. And also we have Dr. Jijimon, the former principal of Marivanius Autonomous College, and Father Varghese Changavitil, the present principal of Marivanius College. Then Dr. Nisha, the principal of St. John's College, Anjal, and Dr. Joju, the principal of Martheophilos Training College, and Mr. Rajimon Varghese is the president of the Malagara Catholic Association, a very committed member of our church, who is in the forefront of protecting and developing and safeguarding the interest of all people in the public fora. And I thank the teachers and the coordinators of this committee in organizing this session in a beautiful way, sharing with the future of our nation, the beloved students community, and the community of our nation building agents. I must say, they are taking over, and they have to materialize what we are collectively thinking of our nation. Thank you, and God bless you all. We will together build up. We will together build up our nation. Permit me to say this concluding sentence with the permission of Dr. Shashi Tharoor. It is not only the politicians who make the country straight and proper. It is a responsibility of the common man. We elect them and we select them for their merit, and they represent us in the respective bodies of either the parliament or the assembly. But then together we will make India as our nation. It is not the 5 years time that dictate the culture or destiny of a nation. It is a long pursuit. It is a tapasya that continues in decades. We will together build up our nation, and we need our India to be known as India forever. Jai Hind. God bless you all.
Thank you, Your Beatitude. Your presence here today has truly enriched our gathering, and we are deeply thankful for the invaluable insights you have shared. May your blessings continue to guide and inspire us in our endeavors. Thank you for gracing us with your presence and profound words. Now, let us advance to commence the inauguration of the National Conference with the lighting of the lamp. I respectfully invite Dr. Shashi Tharoor, Member of Parliament, Thiruvananthapuram Constituency, to formally inaugurate the National Conference by lighting the lamp and to deliver the inaugural address thereafter. Also, I humbly request His Beatitude and all other esteemed dignitaries on the platform to join. Our guest of honor, Dr. V. Venu, Honorable Chief Secretary, will be joining us online.
His Beatitude Moran Mor Basilios Cardinal Clemis Catholicos, who gave us such a wonderful presidential address. Our friend Dr. Venu, the Chief Secretary, who is joining us online. Dr. K.V. Thomas Kuti, who is the Conference Director of this important event. Father Vinci Verghese, Dr. Nisha Thomas, Dr. Abraham Matthew, Mr. Regimon Verghese, Dr. Gigimon Thomas, the very distinguished front row of this audience, some of whom include friends I've seen over the years in such gatherings, faculty, students, and friends. I hope that covers everybody. Ellavarikkum ende vinidamaya namaskaram. It really is a pleasure for me to be asked to inaugurate this two-day national conference on education, environment, and economy in 2030, looking at the intersection of these three important concepts. I was rather sorry to see our wonderful, respected Cardinal Clemis having his right hand in a cast, but then I realized it is his words that pack a punch, so he doesn't need the fist to get his way in what matters. And I have to say that I'm sure he will be well soon. And as a politician, I can empathize with the need to avoid shaking hands for a while. I think there's a lot to be said for that. He mentioned that he could see from my face that I was in the middle of an election. And that's very true. The friend of his who told him the story about asking his driver for a vote, I once asked my mother for a vote, which I think she was deeply offended by. But it's even worse, when we get to this Paryadnam stage in the campaign, when literally you are waving at people. And very often, sadly, illumination is not what it should be. So when it's dusk, all you can see is the outlines of people who wave at them regularly. At one point, I animatedly waved at a cluster of figures and later discovered there were mannequins in the storefront, for clothes that the store was selling. That's how life goes, but politics has its own challenges and pleasures. Nonetheless, it is the most effective way in which you can elect your representative. And I think all of us deserve to exercise the privilege of exercising our vote, of being able to determine our own political destiny. You need to be represented by someone you can feel proud of, not just because of the work that he or she does, but also because of the values and the stands that they take. ഞാൻ എപ്പോഴും പറയും ആൾക്കാരോട് വികസനത്തിന് വേണ്ടി പ്രവർത്തിക്കണം, പക്ഷേ നമ്മുടെ നിലപാട് നോക്കി മനസ്സിലാക്കണം. എന്താണ് രാഷ്ട്രീയത്തിൽ മാത്രമല്ല ദേശീയ വേദിയിലും അന്താരാഷ്ട്രീയ വേദിയിലും തിരുവനന്തപുരത്തിൻ്റെ ശബ്ദം കേൾപ്പിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി എങ്ങനെയാണ് അവർ ഏത് നിലപാടാണ് എടുക്കുന്നത്, എന്താണ് അവർ സംസാരിക്കുന്നത്, that also you should bear in mind. But I will not speak politics today. We have a far more important and challenging subject that our chairman, our president has addressed. And certainly those of us who've been grappling with the implications of a rapidly escalating climate crisis from a policy perspective, especially as an MP representing Thiruvananthapuram, which has been a vulnerable constituency to sea inundations, coastal erosion, and of course Cyclone Oki's not yet a distant memory. All of this means that the environment is a live concern for me as your MP. At the same time, as given my background as a former minister for what used to be called Human Resource Development, the Ministry of Education, the link between our higher education systems, our students, and our conversation on environmental sustainability is in fact very important. The fact that universities have a vital role to play, most obviously from an awareness perspective, was reaffirmed as recently as 2 years ago when the United Nations, where I used to work for nearly 3 decades, conducted its largest ever survey on opinions about climate change. Of the 1.2 million respondents who participated in this People's Climate Vote, as the survey was entitled, over 64% agreed with the basic premise that climate change represents a global emergency. But what is perhaps more relevant to our discussion today is that the survey once again established a clear connection between the quality and length of an individual's education and their belief in climate change. In an era where climate change denialists continued to impede sustained action for the environment, the survey showed us that whether it was in low and middle income countries like Bhutan and the Congo, or high income countries like France and Japan, over 80% of the respondents who held university degrees or were in the middle of their higher education agreed that climate change was indeed a global emergency. The less educated did not. But awareness alone is not enough. Indeed, universities and colleges across the world are not merely informing and shaping opinions of future generations in a passive way. Recent developments suggest that higher education institutions are willing to play an active leadership role in pushing the conversation on sustainability and environmental action on climate. These range widely. There are concerned practical efforts like implementing steps to reduce their respective carbon footprints and develop more sustainable campuses, to formalizing partnerships with their counterparts through networks like the International Universities Climate Alliance. I don't know if Mar Basilios has chosen to join that, but you should think about doing that. They also include campaigns like the UN's Race to Zero, collaborations with independent civil society bodies like the Alliance for Sustainability Leadership in Education, which made headlines when it presented a letter co-signed by 7,000 universities from across the world with dedicated commitments to reduce emissions and expand resources for climate action. Through these wide-ranging actions, universities across the world have indicated that they're not going to limit themselves to knowledge and capacity building alone, but themselves evolve into active stakeholders. And as an engineering college that has thought of the importance of this interconnection, I would urge you all to try and connect with these global networks of educationists if you have not already done so. Now, actions like these suggest a positive trend is emerging with universities, an acknowledgement of a responsibility that universities and colleges have in promoting time-bound and comprehensive action on the challenges of sustainability. In fact, sustainability has in recent times also emerged as a criterion or a framework through which prospective students have made choices regarding the campus of their choice and deciding where they will spend the most formative years of their lives. And accordingly, while there are a number of concerns that one might have with these formalized ranking systems, established ranking agencies like the QS, Quacquarelli-Symonds ranking, or the Times Higher Education Supplement ranking, which ranks universities around the world, they have separated and dedicated sustainability criteria while developing their widely read rankings year on year. Universities and colleges seeking to woo prospective students have now realized that the discerning applicant is looking beyond the usual metrics of reputation, curriculum, faculty, post-graduation opportunities, and job possibilities and all that, but is also evaluating campuses through the prism of ethical considerations, including the institution's commitment to environmental sustainability. The larger point that such examples suggest is that in many ways universities are beginning to recognize that they can no longer remain somewhat passive institutions where merely a formal education is provided. There is a welcome appreciation amongst these bodies that even in matters of sustainability, just attempting to increase our knowledge on these matters from a scientific perspective, or by adopting an approach that looks at such problems as theoretical or academic exercises, is not going to be sufficient if you seek to propel inspired action. Rather, such examples indicate a newfound willingness within educational establishments to commit themselves to action in a more holistic manner, in real time, and in a concrete way. This is an important development, and it's timely, for the Harvard professor Ronald Ferguson, who wrote a book called Educating Children to Improve the World, has rightly argued, and I quote, "The motivation to invent more sustainable ways of life requires more than an understanding of the science of climate change, the capacity to design technological innovations, or an ethical framework that helps us to aspire to live in more inclusive and sustainable communities. It requires an understanding of social systems and the development of ethical reasoning that can help us integrate critical thinking about the current impact of climate change, our moral imagination, the personal motivation to act, and our competency to act in effective ways," unquote. Now, this ethical aspect also came up in Cardinal Clemis's remarks when he referred to the man-animal conflict, whereas he put it, it is the human being who is being marginalized. Whether it is elephants trampling farmers to death, or stray dogs biting and killing children in cities, there are humane solutions available which do not require us to behave in inhuman ways towards the animals either. Separating wildlife from human habitation is an obvious solution which has not been properly pursued and implemented. The animal birth control program to capture all stray dogs and sterilize them, which reduces, in fact, eliminates their aggressiveness. This is something which is an authorized program of the government of India, funded by the central government. It's the fault of the state government for not actually employing enough dog catchers under the provisions of the program and ensuring that these dogs are sterilized. It's a humane solution. We're not doing it, and human beings are therefore being done. So I just want to say to Thirumeni that the fact is that part of the fault lies in ourselves, in our politicians and our government structures, that where solutions are available, we as politicians, as government leaders, have failed to implement them properly. And that is why we need good political leaders who are committed to results and performance and not only to power and profit, personal profit. Now, this approach, which is, of course, cognizant of the complex social and moral underpinnings that underline the concern about the environment, has been recognized by the Nobel Prize-winning Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which in its 2014 report underscored this point, that differences in vulnerability and exposure arise from non-climatic factors and from multi-dimensional inequalities often produced by uneven development processes. That's what we talk about, focusing on the marginalized human beings. They are the victims of uneven development processes, and these differences amongst people shape differential risk from climate change. So our fishermen on the coast, who are all below the poverty line, when their homes tumble into the sea because climate change and sea inundations, it is also a reflection of the inequalities in our society. And the fact that governments which spend money on all sorts of other programs can't put enough money towards building protective sea walls or what we call pulimutta, that is something which is absolutely a reflection of human priorities. And that's where I agree with Cardinal Clemis about the ethical importance of attending to marginalized human beings. And let's face it, these inequalities in socioeconomic status and income, as well as in awareness and exposure, all of these are challenges for us in a society like ours. Now, when we discuss universities, I know you've got three, it's a very vast topic: education, environment, and at the same time, the economy. But I think we have to say that when we raise and equip future generations of our country to grapple with problems of this kind of magnitude and complexity, we have to have an appreciation of these realities I've been talking about. Students from countries like ours cannot afford to forget that any discussion on environmental sustainability must, in societies with complex and deep-rooted social and economic challenges, such as ours, be cognizant of the need to look at these problems in a holistic manner. A manner that allows students to identify and work with the myriad deeply rooted influences of privilege, access, inequality that come together under what is often called environmental justice. That's the manner in which universities must equip our students as they venture forth into the world and attempt to build a more sustainable way forward for our communities. For instance, teaching them that the crisis of air pollution, which I live with every day in Delhi, where you have sent me as your representative, that affects you and me differently from someone whose economic circumstances compels them to continue to rely on polluting energy, for example, within their home to cook a meal at an unavoidable health cost. Many women in our North Indian villages who are cooking on wood fires or coal fires in an unventilated kitchen are dying prematurely of lung diseases and cancers and so on because they don't know better and they can't afford better and they don't have clean air in their daily breathing lives. We also need, for example, as I said, talking about rising sea levels and coastal erosion, it's a lived everyday reality for vulnerable and marginalized communities like the fisherfolk who are children of the sea, Samudratinde Makkala. They make their living right here amongst us, barely 20 minutes away from where we are sitting, and their lives are upended by these phenomena. Teaching them to recognize that even the most well-intentioned mitigating action, whether from the government, through civil society, through politicians, whatever, can only succeed in a country like ours if we adopt a pragmatic approach that is inclusive of both social and moral considerations. To take a focus on the marginalized one step further, let me take an example close to home, an issue that was of great importance to our constituency, which was the ESA notification on the Western Ghats. That was responsible for demarcating environmentally sensitive zones. Now, while in principle it's a very necessary and positive development, the original notification of economically sensitive zones had excluded the villages of Kallikada, Amburi, and Vaishal, which were manifestly not actually eligible under the rules of the scheme, but that caused great anxiety amongst the local residents who are subsistence farmers living on agriculture, barely making ends meet. So I had to intervene as their MP and make multiple representations and interventions to the Minister of the Environment, saying your careless inclusion of their villages as economically sensitive areas has presented significant challenges of economic disruption and physical displacement to my constituents who know no other home. When Tirumeni sits there and stands here and says it is often the human being who is marginalized when we talk about the environment, this is another example of that. Ecologically sensitive area, fine, but who are we protecting the area for? For human beings. Why are we doing it at the expense of other human beings? I'm pleased to tell you that we were ultimately successful, and today those 3 villages have been excluded and are free from the threat of disruption. But I'm making the point that we need to always connect these things and keep them focused. Universities across the world must also recognize that you have a special responsibility to equip future leaders with the capacity to look at all these considerations in tandem while talking and, more importantly, acting on sustainability. In order for us to successfully do so, it's important for universities to reassess the manner in which they train and raise their students. You know, when you think about 2030, which is what the topic of the conference wants us to think about, I want to say that many of our ideas on education are really hopelessly out of date, and that it's very important that education creates a much broader human mental capacity than this business of rote learning, mugging up textbooks, listening to teachers, and regurgitating them in the examinations. That simply will not do, because we have to realize that in the 21st century, and you engineers know this already, you don't need a well-filled mind. All the stuff that you're mugging up for exams you can find in real life with 2 clicks of a mouse on a computer or even looking at your mobile phone. What you don't need is a well-filled mind. What you need is a well-formed mind. A mind that is taking into account all of these factors I've talked about, ethical considerations, moral considerations, imagination, creativity. When Clemus Tirumeni spoke about human intelligence being better than artificial intelligence, he's right, and particularly in two factors. Humans are creative. Artificial intelligence is a learning model that learns everything human beings have already created and thought and written, and then produces it faster in different patterns perhaps. But the creativity has come from the human beings. And the second area where human intelligence is better is morality. Because only human beings have moral judgment. A machine is not capable of exercising a moral choice. That is where we can triumph and prevail, but our education system must emphasize that. And to my mind, this is the challenge for modern education. Don't tell people what to think. Tell people how to think. Teach people, students, to have the imagination, to have the creative sense, to think out of the box, and to be able to have moral judgment in the choices that they make. I do want to say something slightly mischievous in the middle of an engineering college. There has been a big concern for the last 25 years or so that there is a problem with placing a premium on overtly technical and utilitarian education, because it has developed a few generations of graduates who are trained to look at the world through absolute and non-negotiable principles. This works, this doesn't work. This switch turns off, this switch turns on. There's only one way of doing things and no other. That's what you learn in engineering, that's what you learn in mathematics, that's what you learn in many sciences, and it would be disastrous for the world. In fact, there was an Oxford study in 2005 that created a huge controversy. I wrote about it at that time. When they analyzed every single terrorist incident in the world up to 2005, and they discovered, and this is, I'm not joking, it's actually come out, the documented report, you can Google it, that 95% of those identified to be involved with these terrorist incidents were engineers. 95%. Now, they're not saying that all engineers are terrorists, but they're saying most terrorists are engineers. Why was that so? Because of this. Engineers were trained to think only in absolute certitudes, and therefore they were vulnerable to the kind of fundamentalist logic that said only one way is good, only one way is right, everything else is evil, you can destroy them because they're evil and they don't deserve to live. And that's how the terrorists were trained to think. And they were conditioned to think that way by their engineering education, which became a very compelling argument for making it compulsory for engineering students to also study humanities, to have a broader vision of the world, to see that not everything is black and white. In engineering, it may be. In real life, the world is much more complex and nuanced. And this is the kind of thinking that we have to overcome, whether it's on ESA notification, whether it's on an animal-human conflict, whether it's on sea erosion. We need to find creative, humane ways and moral ways of looking at all of this. And that's something which I wanted to stress with all of you. Just as the sciences must be tempered with the humanities, theory must be tempered with reality. And if our graduates were rooted in the idea that there's only one way to think and work, they're likely to apply that habit of mind and thought to their understanding of human beings, of politics, of ideology, of the environment, and that would then proceed to develop responses based on the premise that only one worldview is true and right and everyone else is wrong. The willingness to accommodate. I loved it when Cardinal Clemis said, all these different religious people inside the church, all thinking in their own different ways about God. That's what unites us, our common humanity. That must also be absolutely cherished. And I've often said the human mind is like a parachute. It functions best when it's open. Just as you don't want to jump out of a plane and keep the parachute closed, don't go into the world with a closed mind. Let your mind be open, receptive, understand. You don't have to agree with everything you hear, but at least hear it. Hear what they have to say. It's very interesting. You'll see our president today, Cardinal Clemis, receiving politicians of every party when they come to him. Whatever their ideology may be, he will receive them with the same amount of friendly smile and respect and so on. He will listen to them. And that is important. One should never be closed to anything. But at the same time, he knows what he believes in, what he stands for, what he supports. And that's how we should all be. We should have our convictions, we should have our morals, we should have our values, but don't shut the door on other people, because that drives them to extremes as well. I just want to end up, because it's taken a bit while and I'm already late to inaugurate the Marivaños festival, which has been waiting for me. I just want to say that the way to tie together all these concerns we've discussed, environment, education, and the economy, is that we must take the environment forward in a way that sustains economy, particularly the marginalized in the economy, and at the same time maintain, through education and awareness of the social and moral problems that keep us as inclusive human beings, keep our spaces more representative of all our diversity. Diversity is not just a cliche, it's a reality. Humans are diverse. Let us give everyone the respect for who they are. And the perspectives of our students must be forged with a deeper appreciation of those who do not subscribe to their views, or those who face a different set of economic realities in their lives, and therefore they think differently. We need to appreciate that. No conversation on the subject can sustain itself if it does not carve out spaces for all voices, no matter how big or how small, how rich or how poor, to be heard. It's not just what we try to rectify through instruments like affirmative action, need-based scholarships, which are very important, but also to taking stock of what barriers our young students are facing and young people are facing to access and inclusion at all levels of our society. You know, there's been a recognition under Goal 4 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that ensuring inclusive and equitable education is an integral component of our shared vision for a more sustainable future. So I believe that if we are successful in raising the next generation in a manner that builds your capacity to think beyond the traditional approach of doing things, and in a manner that allows you to work in tandem with other stakeholders through collaboration and dialogue, we may yet be able to push the conversation on the environment forward in a constructive manner. As part of that journey, universities must continue to build on the leadership and action they have shown thus far, and actively support and train future graduates to approach these problems with the level of nuance and commitment that the complex challenges I've described to you today demand. With these words, I wish you all a very successful conference, and I'm pleased to declare this two-day national conference officially inaugurated. Nandi Namaskaram, Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. We extend our heartfelt gratitude for your enlightening inaugural address. Your insights and vision have set a remarkable tone for this national conference, inspiring us all. We are deeply honored to have the opportunity to hear from you today. Now, as a gesture of our deep appreciation and affection, I respectfully extend a request on behalf of the MBCET family for His Beatitude Moranmur Basilius Cardinal Clemis Catholicos to kindly present a memento to Dr. Shashi Tharoor MP. Thank you, Your Beatitude. We are indeed honored to have with us Dr. V. Venu, Honorable Chief Secretary, Government of Kerala, who has joined us online. I humbly invite him for the keynote address.
His Beatitude Moranmur Basilius Cardinal Klimbis Catholicos Trimeni, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, Honorable MP, Dr. K.V. Thomas Upi, Conference Director, Dr. Jijimon Thomas, Conference Convener, Principals of all organizing colleges, Mariganyu, St. John's College, Martinopoulos Training College, Mar Basilios College of Engineering and Technology, Mar Gregorius College of Law, and Malankara Social Service Society, representatives of the Higher Education Council, delegates who have registered for this conference, organizers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I have been unable to attend physically this important conference as I have high fever, most probably it is a viral fever, and I did not wish to infect anybody by coming physically to the conference. As you know, one of the things that, one of the characteristics of viral fever is that it is highly infective. So one doesn't know, but one is capable of giving this fever to several people without intending to do so. Particularly in the presence of Tirumeni, I do not want to take the risk. So please excuse me for talking to you online and not physically. I'd like to start by complimenting the organizers, the Malankara Syrian Catholic Colleges, the Kerala State Higher Education Council, for this extremely significant subject that will be discussed and on which papers will be presented over the next 2 days. I have, in my official career here, served the sectors of higher education, environment, scheduled caste development, scheduled tribe development, and now in my capacity as executive, I have always been of great interest to me. And I understand that this conference will see several papers presented on the various sub-themes that have been spelled out. The most important thing for me is that discussions will be held with the focus on the marginalized. At this point, I'd like to recall and honor the memory of the work done by Cyril Marbasilios Catholicos in my part of the state. I belong to Kozhikode. Wayanad is an area which is very familiar to me. And the work that Tirumeni did in those days, 20 years ago, is still a wonderful memory in the minds of the people there. He was a pathbreaker in many senses. And I know that this conference will be exploring the work that he started and its repercussions and its impact. We all know that we live in a time of great churning. It's a dynamic world that we live in. And nothing more so than education, as was pointed out earlier by Dr. Tharoor. In education, the country is going through challenges that will result in a whole new system over the next few years. And when we look back, we will see that this period, 2021, 22, 23, will be the period that defines a new kind of education. And this is particularly so in higher education. I'm not getting into the details of the so-called new generation education system. I am sure this conference will examine the nuances and the contours of the new education policy. But I wish to submit to you that I have deep concerns about several of the propositions put forward by the economic policy, by the new education policy. The chief of which is, where do you place the marginalized? Where do you place the people with less privilege? Where do you place the people, the students, the young generation who come from poor backgrounds? In this brave new world of higher education spelt out through the policy, we aim to be very similar in the environment to, let us say, the USA. Now, the USA is a very unequal place. If there is something that India has been proud about, it is the fact that we have provided an enabling environment in order to ensure that students, youngsters coming from underprivileged families, underprivileged communities, were given a fighting chance to obtain good education, to make a better future for themselves and their families. And if you look at the entire higher education sector, this would keep us apart from any other country in the world, because we provide for the person at the end of the line. It is very fashionable these days to say that merit was the culprit, was the casualty in such an approach. I do not believe so. And a conference of this nature, which focuses on the underprivileged, should examine the policy questions, the policy directives, the recommendations closely through the prism of helping the underprivileged and the marginalized. And these are uncomfortable questions to be asked, but these need to be asked. And I compliment the organizers because you have the courage, the vision, the sagacity, and the wisdom to put these questions right in the forefront. Turning to environment, Dr. Tharoor himself has outlined beautifully the issues that should engage the attention of this conference. I have been involved in the environment sector for many years now, from coastal regulation zone to the environmental sensitive zone, which Dr. Tharoor mentioned. Here also, our country is going through a lot of changes. The Ministry of Environment and Forests in recent times, through their notifications and amendments, have cleared the decks for faster decision making and for better business growth. But it needs very close examination as to whether these amendments and notifications will push the already marginalized further to the periphery. Are their rights being protected? Are they being looked after? In this rush to provide this enabling environment for the business communities, who exactly will pay the price? Questions that need to be asked, particularly in a gathering like this, where you look at intersections between environment and development, because every compromise in the environment, there is a trade-off, because that brings in development, that brings growth, that brings jobs. So every country, every region, every state aspires to grow. But in this whole growth story, Are people being left behind? Is a very serious question. The Indian economy is booming. We all know that. The last quarter, the growth was 8.4%. The GDP grew by 8.4%, which is, among the highest in the world, which is good news for everyone. But at the same time, we need to understand that are the opportunities provided by growth, by booming business, by investments, are these opportunities provided across the board? Do the marginalized communities, do families, entrepreneurs, enterprises from underprivileged backgrounds getting a share of the cake, share of the pie? Is credit going to every part of the population spectrum? Or is there disparities? If there are disparities, then what are the enabling provisions? What are the policy directives that need to be put in place in order to ensure that the marginalized do not become further marginalized? And they also become part of the growth story. They can also seize the opportunities that are made available through this wonderful growth story of our country. I notice with a lot of pleasure that the sub-themes which have been defined are really pointing the spotlight on several of the issues which are close to my heart. When you talk about sustainable development and achieving sustainable development goals, 2030, to my mind, is too short a period. We need a little more time, perhaps, to achieve those goals. But we are in a hurry. This government, the country is in a hurry. So, which is fine. I believe that these questions can be asked even within these tight time frames. To provide answers and to provide pointers to policymakers in order to make sure that we have an inclusive, we have a growth paradigm that is inclusive, that is pro-poor, and that provides equal opportunities in education, skill development, enterprise making, entrepreneurship for the weaker sections. It is important for us to remain focused on these because these are the questions that are not asked everywhere. So once again, let me compliment the organizers for putting together this very significant theme under which a host of sub-themes and subjects can be explored. I believe that the young minds who will contribute to the conference will have several original thoughts, suggestions to make, and these will enrich people like us, policy makers and academicians, scholars, who are all going to be looking at the conference, the results of the conference, with a great deal of interest. I would like to conclude by offering my compliments to the organizers and my best wishes to all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your thought-provoking intervention and the thoughts that you shared. And despite all the inconveniences, you participate in the seminar online, and the organizing committee is so grateful. And on behalf of His Beatitude, Basilius Cardinal Clemens, express deep thanks for your presence and thought-provoking ideas and thinking. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Once again, thank you, Dr. Venu, sir, for your enlightening address. Your insights have left an indelible impression on all of us present here today. We are deeply grateful for your time, wisdom, and the invaluable perspectives you shared. May I now invite Dr. Nisha Thomas, Principal, St. John's College, Anjal, to offer her felicitations.
Major Archbishop and Head of Zero Malankara Catholic Church, Dr. V. Venu, Honorable Chief Secretary, Government of Kerala, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, Member of Parliament, Trivandrum Constituency, Dr. K.V. Thomaskutti, Secretary, MSc Colleges, Father Vinci Varghese, Principal, Marginalized College, Dr. Abraham T., Principal, Mar Basilius College of Engineering, Mr. Regimon Varghese, President, MCA, Dr. Jijimon K. Thomas, former Principal and Organizing Secretary of today National Conference, Reverend Fathers, Reverend Sisters, esteemed guests, distinguished speakers, and participants. It's with immense pleasure that I stand before you to felicitate the two-day National Conference on Education, Environment, Economy at 2030, focusing on marginalized, which is being organized by the institutions in Mar Ivanus Vidyanagar. This conference is a testament of a collective commitment towards fostering sustainable development for the future, irrespective of the socio-economic background. The theme of this conference, that is Education, Environment, Economy 2030, is particularly relevant in today's rapidly evolving world. It encourages us to reflect upon the interconnectedness of these three main aspects of life, that is education, environment, economy, and how they are going to shape our present and future. As we move on to 2030, it is crucial that we strive on a holistic approach in addressing the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. The focus that is focusing on marginalized, which is the focus of our two-day national seminar, has underlines the significance of this conference. That is, it highlights the importance of ensuring that no one is left behind in our pursuit of progress and development. Over the next 2 days, we are set out to get an intellectual adventure on many talks, and we are going to listen to many participants' paper presentations, which is focusing on our major theme. Mar Ivanus Vidyanagar has already and always hosted many conferences earlier also. So this is how we are into organizing many thought-provoking conferences and bringing together experts in academics, policymakers, and stakeholders from various fields to encourage and in meaningful discussions and share valuable insights. I'm confident that these insights which we gain from the discussion will contribute significantly to the collective understanding and action towards a better future for all. Thank you, and let's start this enriching, enlightening journey with open hearts and minds, which we are looking for the next 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now invite Dr. Abraham T. Matthew, Principal, Mar Basilius College of Engineering and Technology, to offer his felicitations.
Most respected and venerable patron and manager, His Beatitude, More and More Basilius Cardinal Clemis Catholicos Tirumeni. Distinguished Chief Guest, Dr. B. Venu, IAS Chief Secretary, our beloved mentor, well-wisher, friend and philosopher, Dr. Shashi Tharoor MB, Conference Director, Dr. K.V. Thomas Kutty, Reverend Father Vinci Varghese Changuitil, Principal of the prestigious Marivanios College, Dr. Nisha Thomas, Principal of St. John's College, Mr. Regimon Varghese, President MCA, Dr. Jijimon K. Thomas, Conference Convener, our bursars, assistant bursar, clergymen, sisters, principals, senior faculty and officials from various institutions, conference delegates, dignitaries of the dais, my dearest colleagues, students, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, on behalf of my college, Mar Basilius College of Engineering and Technology, I join with my bursar, assistant bursar, colleagues and students to express our joy and enthusiasm in becoming a part of the multi-conference on our Marivanios Vidyanagar campus being held for the first time, and thank our beloved patron for giving directions for organizing this two-day national conference. We are grateful to our guests of exemplary honor, Dr. V. Venu and Dr. Shashi Tharoor, for the kind visit and gracious presence in the inaugural ceremony. I certainly believe that the 2 days deliberations during the present conference will lay the foundation for a long-standing cooperation in reorienting our campus community ourselves with a common mindset to address the issues in education, environment and economy, and also focus on the marginalized strata of humanity, perhaps transcending the geographical boundaries in the years to come. Our church and all the institutions have always been standing for the cause of inclusivity and access, and also for the empowerment of the people through education. Our patron has always emphasized the vision of universal brotherhood and the social equity. We strive to hold on to that. Personally, I have a doubt. The existence of the marginalized sections in the community is incidental or intentional. If we go to Mumbai, we find multi-storied residential buildings, business houses, and large slums existing side by side. If we go to Andhra Pradesh, Bihar or Uttar Pradesh, we find a lot of people working in the agriculture field. All these people are part of the nation's economy. So if we take the nation as a whole, all people in the different strata of the community and have their stake in the nation's progress, then why the sidelining happens? This is the situation or context where the works of His Beatitude Cyril Basilius and His Beatitude more and more Basilius Cardinal Clemens Catholicos becomes relevant. We can endeavor to empower the people with knowledge and technology to do their duties in the nation building process. We can stop the mindless exploitation and discrimination. Let the wisdom prevail upon all prejudices and preconditions. Let our conference enables fruitful discussions on our roles and responsibilities in the enabling and facilitating equitable and just society. I wish the very best for the conference and assure full support for the mission. Before I stop, I would like to mention that Mar Basilius College has always strived to be maintaining a beautiful and sustainable campus. Our college has won Green Campus Awards from national and international bodies. And recently also, we organized awareness session on the sustainable development goals by bringing in our students, teachers, and staff together. So once again, I wish the very best for the conference and have a nice time for the delegates. Thank you all. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Mr. Regimon Varghese, President MCA, to offer his felicitations.
അത്യുന്നത കർദിനാൾ ക്ലെമിസ് കാതോലിക്ക ബാബ തിരുമനസൈ, വേദിയിലുള്ള പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട കെ വി തോമസ് കുട്ടി സാർ, പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട പിൻസി വർഗീസ് ചാങ്ങവീട്ടിലച്ചൻ, പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട നിഷ തോമസ്, ഡോക്ടർ എബ്രഹാം ടി മാത്യു, ജിജിമോൻ കെ തോമസ്, മറ്റ് പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട വൈദിക ശ്രേഷ്ഠരെ, ഏറ്റവും പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട സിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ്, പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട വിദ്യാർത്ഥിനികളെ, സുഹൃത്തുക്കളെ, സഹോദരി സഹോദരങ്ങളെ, പ്രൗഢഗംഭീരമായ ഒരു ചടങ്ങിലാണ് നമ്മൾ കടന്നുപോയിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇതിൻ്റെ ഔപചാരികമായ ഉദ്ഘാടന കർമ്മം നമ്മുടെ പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട MP ശ്രീ ശശി തരൂർ അവർകൾ നിർവഹിക്കപ്പെട്ടു. തീർച്ചയായും മലങ്കര കത്തോലിക്ക സഭയ്ക്ക് എന്നും അഭിമാനിക്കാവുന്ന തരത്തിലാണ് ഈ 2 ദിവസത്തെ കോൺഫറൻസ് നടന്നുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്. തീർച്ചയായും കഴിഞ്ഞ ദിവസങ്ങളിലൊക്കെ നമ്മുടെ വൈദിക ശ്രേഷ്ഠരടക്കമുള്ളവർ നേതൃത്വം കൊടുത്തുകൊണ്ട് കഴിഞ്ഞ 1 വർഷക്കാലമായി ആലോചിച്ച ഈ പ്രോഗ്രാം നമ്മുടെ കാമ്പസുകളിൽ നടന്നുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കാൻ ഇന്നും നാളെയുമായി അതിൻ്റെ കോൺഫറൻസ് സമാപിക്കുകയാണ്. തീർച്ചയായും ഭാരതീയ സംസ്കാരത്തിൽ അടിയുറച്ച് വിശ്വസിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് ക്രിസ്തീയ വിശ്വാസം ഊട്ടിയുറപ്പിക്കാമെന്ന് നമ്മുടെ വയനാട് ജില്ലയിലൂടെ നമ്മുടെ പിതാവ് നമുക്ക് കാട്ടിത്തന്നു. അവിടെ ശ്രേയസ് പോലെയുള്ള പൊതുജന സമ്പർക്ക പരിപാടികൾ നടത്തുകയും ഈ പരിപാടികളിലൂടെ അവിടുത്തെ ജനവിഭാഗത്തെ തൊട്ടുണർത്തി ജാതിമത ചിന്തകൾക്കതീതമായി വളർത്തിയെടുക്കുന്നതിന് ബസേലിയോസ് പിതാവിന് സാധിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. തീർച്ചയായും അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ഓർമ്മയോടനുബന്ധിച്ച് ഇത്തരത്തിലുള്ള പ്രോഗ്രാമുകൾ നടത്തണമെന്ന് കഴിഞ്ഞ MC-യുടെ കർമ്മപരിപാടിയിലാണ് ആവശ്യപ്പെട്ടത്. അതിൻ്റെ നേതൃത്വം കൊടുക്കുന്നതിന് ശ്രീ കെ വി തോമസ് കുട്ടി സാറിൻ്റെ നേതൃത്വത്തിൽ ഇവർക്ക് നെടിയത്തച്ഛനും ഒക്കെ കൂടി ചേർന്നുകൊണ്ട് ഇത്തരത്തിലൊരു പ്രോഗ്രാം രൂപീകരിച്ചപ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ കോളേജുകളിലെ അധ്യാപകരും മുൻ അധ്യാപകരും ചേർന്നുകൊണ്ട് വളരെ മനോഹരമായി ഇത്തരത്തിലൊരു പ്രോഗ്രാം നടത്തുകയും അത് വളരെ വിജയിക്കുകയുമാണ് ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുള്ളത്. തീർച്ചയായും നമ്മുടെ അത്യുന്നത കർദിനാൾ ദേഹാസ്വസ്ഥ്യമുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ പോലും ആദ്യാവസാനം ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുകയും ഈ പരിപാടി പൂർണ്ണ വിജയത്തിലെത്തിക്കുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടിയുള്ള എല്ലാ ഒത്താശകളും ചെയ്തു തരുന്ന നമ്മുടെ പിതാവിന് എല്ലാവരുടെയും പേരിലുള്ള നന്ദി ഞാൻ രേഖപ്പെടുത്തിക്കൊണ്ട് ഈ പരിപാടിയിൽ പൂർണ്ണതയോടെ ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്ന എല്ലാ വിദ്യാർത്ഥിനികൾക്കും എല്ലാ നന്മകളും നേർന്നുകൊണ്ട് MC-യുടെ നേതൃത്വത്തിൽ കൂടി നടത്തുന്ന ഈ പരിപാടിക്ക് എല്ലാ വിജയാശംസകളും നേർന്നുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ സംസാരം നിർത്തുന്നു. നന്ദി, നമസ്കാരം.
Thank you, sir. I would now request Reverend Father John Vargas, Bursar of MPCET, to present a memento to His Beatitude Moranmar Basilius Cardinal Clemis Catholicos. Thank you, Father. May I now invite Dr. Jijimon K. Thomas, former principal, Mar Evanius College and conference convener, to propose the vote of thanks.
His Beatitude, Basilius Cardinal Clemis, Major Archbishop Catholicos of the Malankara Syrian Catholic Church, and chief patron of this conference, and also the president of this function, Honorable Member of Parliament Dr. Shashi Tharoor, Honorable Chief Secretary of the State Dr. V. Venu, Right Reverend Thomas Kayalekil, the Vicar General, respected resource persons, Professor Dr. K.V. Thomas Gutti, the Conference Director, Father Vinci Varghese, the Principal of Mar Evanius College, Dr. Abraham T. Matthew, Principal of Mar Basilius College of Engineering, Dr. Nisha Thomas, Principal St. John's College, Anchal, Mr. Regimon Varghese, President of the Malankara Catholic Association, the respected directors, principals, and bursars of our sister institutions, respected Ramban Givargis Nediyat, dear delegates, members of the Malankara Catholic Association, respected priests, the Malankara Social Service Society members, respected delegates, faculty members, research scholars, students, and all other supporting staff. It is with a great pleasure that I stand here to render thanks on the occasion of the inaugural session of the two-day National Conference on Education, Environment, Economy at 2030, focusing on the marginalized, jointly organized by the higher education institutions of Malankara Syrian Catholic Church in association with the Malankara Catholic Association and Malankara Social Service Society. This conference is also supported by the Kerala State Higher Education Council. At the outset, let me thank the Malankara Syrian Catholic Colleges and their administration, the Malankara Catholic Association and Malankara Social Service Society for their invaluable foresight in organizing the two-day national conference, which seems to be a very relevant topic for deliberations in the current scenario of our nation. This is because our nation is one of the fastest growing economies of the world and is poised to continue on its path with aspirations to reach the middle income status by 2047, the centenary of the Indian independence. In the forthcoming sessions, we propose to have deliberations on various factors that influences the economic growth of the nation by esteemed academicians of the country. And in tandem to this, explicit discussions on the contributions of Malankara Catholic Church in uplifting the Dalit communities in Kerala on building a secular, progressive and equitable society from Renaissance to modern age, and on our vision at 2030 is also envisaged. And the relevance of this time frame 2030 is also for that we are about to celebrate the 100th year of our church, Malankara Syrian Catholic Church, in 2030. I take this opportunity to thank wholeheartedly the initiatives taken by the 5 participating colleges under Malankara Catholic Eparchy, that is the Mar Ivanius College Autonomous, Mar Theophilos Training College, St. John's College Anchal, Mar Basilius College of Engineering and Technology, Mar Gregorius College of Law, and also Malankara Catholic Association, Malankara Social Service Society, and the Kerala State Higher Education Council in materializing this event. His Beatitude, Basilius Cardinal Clemens Catholicus, is the chief patron of this conference, and his presidential address on the topic revealed that the Church holds a key role in alleviating poverty and unemployment by supporting efforts to develop sectors such as agriculture, education, research, and is one of the stable forces in the society defending human rights and challenging oppressive regimes, thereby encouraging social change and setting a democratic framework for the future. On behalf of the organizing committee, I thank His Beatitude for being with us and guiding us and invoking God's blessing for fruitful deliberations. Sincere thanks are due to our Honorable Member of Parliament, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, for his insightful inaugural address, which will surely motivate the researchers in economics, economic science to work hard for the nation to make it a fully developed nation by 2030. Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words. The Honorable Chief Secretary, Dr. Venu, delivered the keynote address. Dr. Venu is a true visionary, and we hope that his views on economic affairs will definitely be a value addition to the nation's vision in 2047. On behalf of the organizing committee, I thank the Chief Secretary for his thought-provoking address. A very special word of thanks to the respected Right Reverend Thomas Kayalakal, Right Reverend Givargis Nediyath Ramban, respected Dr. Professor Dr. K.V. Thomasgutti, Father Vinci Varghese, Dr. Abraham T. Matthew, Dr. Nisha Thomas, Mr. Regimon Varghese, who joined us in this inaugural session and for meticulously coordinating the entire activity in a befitting manner. I also thank Father John Varghese, Father Bob Osman, Father Givargis Vettikate, Father Reju, Father Thomas Mugulamparate, Mr. Muralidas, Dr. Suju C. Joseph, Dr. Bindu, Mr. Abhilash, and the entire team of organizers. And their contributions will surely be a matter of study for their deliberations in the coming sessions will surely be a matter of study for the effective leadership in higher educational institutions. I also take this opportunity to thank all the leaders of the participating educational institutions, supporting staff and technical persons who had been working hard for the last several months for the successful conduct of this event. I thank the directors, bursars, and the faculty members of Mar Basilius College of Engineering and Technology for their effort in taking all necessary arrangement for the conduct of this inaugural function, particularly the teachers, students, the Sisters of Bethany and MTT Hostel for arranging this hall in a beautiful way. Once again, I thank all those who have assembled here, including the delegates online and offline, and also the participants from Kerala and outside Kerala, and all those who have helped us in conducting this inaugural session successfully. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's all stand up for the national anthem.
जनगणमनधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
The inaugural ceremony has come to a close. Thank you, esteemed dignitaries and audience. Tea and refreshments have been arranged in 2 counters outside the hall. The audience is requested to kindly go to the counters